So let's talk about sleep. Sleep is something that seems very simple, but it actually isn't just a state of turning off. Our minds are super active when we're asleep, and we go through lots of different stages that cycle in and out. There's slow wave sleep, there's non-REM sleep, there's REM sleep, and each one kind of has characteristic pattern of brain activation that you can see on an EEG if you were to hook yourself up. What's interesting about it is that we can dream in any stage of sleep. You don't have to be in REM sleep to be able to dream. The dreams that we have when we are in the stages, so it's stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and stage 4. Stage 3 and 4 are like really deep sleep. And then we basically cycle from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, and then we come back up out of these stages of deep sleep into the lighter stages of sleep. But instead of going all the way back up to stage 1, we enter REM sleep then. And in REM sleep, our muscles are actually paralyzed. We have pretty intense dreams that are often really implausible and kind of weird, technicolor. And our eyes are moving all around underneath our eyelids, which is why it's called rapid eye movement, REM sleep. And then when we're done with that cycle of REM, then we go back down and we'll do stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, stage 3, stage 2, and then REM again. And we keep doing this over and over throughout the night. And interestingly, the patterns of REM we get more REM sleep as we get into the deeper stages of sleep. So like between the hours of 12 and 4, we would have more than we would between the hours of 8 p.m. and 12. And so then as you're waking up, your alarm clock wakes you up, the chances are is that you're probably in REM sleep when your alarm clock is going off. REM sleep is really important for us, and we do all sorts of things to inhibit it without even knowing that we do. So marijuana can inhibit REM sleep, alcohol can inhibit REM sleep. If you get woken up all the time by something like sleep apnea, where you just can't sleep for very long chunks at a time, then your REM sleep will be disrupted. And when we have babies, our little babies, they sleep, 18 hours a day as a newborn, and they predominantly have REM sleep when they're sleeping. So more than 50% of the time they're asleep is actually REM. And then as they get older, they gradually have less and less REM sleep, so that by the time they're 6 years old, they may have 25% of their sleeping time would actually be REM sleep. And then it's pretty comparable to an adult at that point. So even though a 6-year-old needs 10 to 12 hours of sleep, and an adult needs less than that, an adult still probably will have between 20 and 25% of their sleep be REM. And so REM is very important for a lot of reasons. Some learning and memory consolidation can go on in that. And if you have an animal experiment where you constantly wake up the animals when they go into REM, then they have severe problems. We know that sleep is essential. If you don't get sleep, after a couple of days, you will undergo hallucinations that can be visual, they can be somatosensory, so touch, they can be auditory, they can be all three after a couple of days of no sleep. So it's really important that we get our sleep, which is why there's so many books devoted to sleep training and how to get your child to sleep. We think it takes kind of a long time to fall asleep, but if you were hooked up to an EEG, instead of it looking sequentially like you're going deeper and deeper and then finally falling asleep, the person who's reading that EEG can tell you exactly the moment that you go to sleep. It's that abrupt. There is I am not sleeping and then I am sleeping. And you can tell that by the brain waves. So the brain waves are kind of interesting in itself. So the way that EEG works is you can't actually see what a single neuron is doing. And a single action potential just isn't that strong. Because if you think about the electrodes have to go like through the scalp and then through the skull and then through the meninges and then finally to the brain. And then even then it's only the neurons on the very surface of the cortex that you're listening to their activity. So instead, what you're getting is kind of the whole population of neurons. If they're all firing, then you'll get an increased signal in the EEG electrode. And if only a couple are firing sporadically, you won't hear them. And that's the same way as if you were at a stadium and the people across the stadium were just talking regularly, you couldn't discern what they were saying. But if they all yelled something like first down, then if they did it in unison, then you could hear it. And that's the same way that the EEG works. And that's how we're able to use it as a tool to pick up brain activity from these surface cortical areas that we otherwise wouldn't have access to. And it's really nice because it's non-invasive. But still, it can be a tool, but it does actually have its limitations as well. So that's kind of a synopsis on sleep. Sleep for elderly people kind of starts to look in a similar way to that of newborn, where you kind of start to nap a little bit more, cat nap, and have a little bit more dysregulated sleep. And then, in terms of sleep aids for people who do have insomnia, you tend to have benzodiazepines as the number one thing that is prescribed, along with barbiturates, which isn't really prescribed anymore because they're quite addictive. So those can be, you can exhibit a tolerance to those. You have to be careful with those. And the American Academy of Physicians, actually, if you have insomnia, their number one recommended treatment for that is cognitive behavioral therapy as the first line, instead of some kind of a drug to help you sleep. So thanks for listening to my summary of sleep. Next time we'll talk about actually what's happening within the brain for sleep and how that's regulated. So thanks for listening. Join us every day in May for a new video.